It's getting harder and harder to describe actually, because I started off with a simple label of astrologer, just because I thought that's going to go on the business card and it's something that people will understand. But I come from a very Druid pagan background, so I include magic in everything I do.
Yeah.
And then there's the tarot and the symbology. I'm a full-on herbalist. So it's the old ways, basically, wherever you can go back and find the old ways and the way that we used to connect with the ancestors, with the festivals of life, that kind of thing, and then how we can bring that forward and apply it to what we're doing in our modern lives.
Wow, that is quite a breadth of knowledge there. Do you have any, what would you say your specialty is out of those? Is there anything you're particularly in tune with?
I love the calendar. My book's going to be about the calendar, time and consciousness, how we're working to the wrong calendar, which was designed purely for tax collection purposes. So lose it, get back to the old calendar, and the consciousness and the kind of ritual that we can go through, because we've got a ritual on our birthday, we've got our own personal new year that many people don't know about. The one in January is just ridiculous. And we've got sacred festivals, which are great fun, still go on really across the country to this day. But it's a very organic spiral time calendar that keeps us in motion with everything else rather than in this prison grid that we're delivered.
That's a great way to describe it. Prison grid. So the book's called Time and Consciousness.
It's going to be called something along those lines. It's in formation. I've done the first part and now I'm going out onto the land to study the stellar alignments of the stone circles and all that kind of thing, and go to all the pagan festivals and document my process.
Brilliant.
So instead of some dry astrology book, it's just like sun sign, Scorpio, moon sign, Gemini, I want the second half to be about the stars on the land, because they all line up to more than just the sun and the moon. The festivals are all zodiacally aligned, if there is such a word.
You made it.
Yeah. So as we talk about what's coming up in 2016, there's a big feature that tells me to go out, to travel, to expand, and to complete that with filming and publishing. So I know that's my next 2.5 year plan.
That's brilliant. Is there any place in particular you're most looking forward to visit as part of that?
I'm going to try and get up to Upheliar, which is in Orkney. It's the last Tuesday in January, so not exactly warm, but they do a huge Viking boat burning festival.
Oh my gosh.
Massive. And I don't think Orkney has many residents at all, so it has thousands of people descend, all with torches, and they reconstruct this massive Viking boat, and they all have drumming and fire festival.
Incredible.
It's nuts by the look of the pictures. But if I don't make that this year, then I'm going to do it next year. Yeah, certainly one of the first memories I have is my dad reading me Lord of the Rings over the end of my bunk bed.
I love Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings is my Bible. He was reading the bit where the Dark Riders are first sniffing over the tree roots and the hobbits at the beginning of their journey are
That's
hiding
terrifying.
out. That's my first memory of my dad reading to me over the end of the bunk bed when I was little. And then from then on, our dogs were called Frodo, Bilbo, Merryweather. My dad actually did incoming tourism to the sites where Tolkien wrote Lord of the Rings, because we grew up in the area where he wrote it. So it's literally in my blood.
That's incredible.
And the man was incredible and still is, really. We don't really die. His entity was massive.
That's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and then my mum was more into the witchcraft side of things. She was born near Lewes in Brighton, and we then moved to Warwick, which is a big centre of witchcraft. And she loved all of that. She was our brown owl. She loved all the magic in that way. And I just remember the big deal of Halloween and dressing up as witches and all that kind of thing. And before she passed in 2003, she was blown away by Harry Potter and Hogwarts and all that kind of thing.
Yeah,
she used to sit for
hours
listening to the audio books. So we never really kind of did the normal thing, but it was very authentic. Lots of walking in the woods, lots of respect for animals, lots of... At Christmas, our decorations would be snowy branches and little kind of handmade robins and anything to do with nature rather than Santa, Coca-Cola, all that kind of thing. So we were always brought up to kind of keep the nature aspect into the festivities, like what they now call Christmas. Brilliant question. I think some of us are doing that on purpose, because to be spiritual in the material world is what we're here for. We're not seeking spirituality, we already are.
Yes, that's
spiritual, and we just need to be the both, bring heaven to earth. So I see people do that dualism of, oh, the city's too much, I've got to run away to the country on retreat. And I think the stronger souls will always be able to say, the city's a landscape, I'm just going to take the buildings off it, look at the hills, look at the rivers, look at the valleys, look at the ley lines. I live in Camden, which is a massive ley line. absolutely huge. Look at the trees, look at the parks, and just do a little bit of research on your local area, because you will be on a ley line. And I think the stronger ones that have given themselves a challenge to live in the city, we're actually here to radiate that brightness in the midst of darkness rather than run away.
That's great.
But it's totally cool to go away and recharge your batteries as well.
Yeah.
I live near Hampstead Heath, and I feel like my iPhone, I literally go...
I went to university around there.
Yeah,
it's incredible. And we've got Peckham Rye close by, actually, which is... It's something in that area just feels a bit special.
Go back to the old maps, go back to the ancestors, scratch a couple of generations, you'll find a county fair and a celebration of spring, a well, you'll find something. The oldest word would be wise woman. Okay, so when we take witch, we go back, we go to wise woman. The men had a different role, it's not disinclusive. But the women were the herbalists and the midwives and doing that kind of role. So just think wise woman. Witch came along fairly recently, and a lot of the tradition of witchcraft has been backward engineered from the 1800s. Yeah. So this whole kind of coven thing that we see coming through that, not a lot of that is actually real. And many people call themselves Wiccan as well, that's the other word.
Yes,
yeah, but we've got a kind of religious war going on, so some people will just rail up at the word witch, automatically thinking that it's a negative thing.
Yeah.
Now, if you consider the modern day magic wand is the phone, then most people are cursing each other already. And a witch is somebody who's aware that we're all manipulating subtle energies. That's the definition of magic, is the manipulation of subtle energy. And every thought, word and action everybody has is doing that.
Yeah.
So the wise woman is the one that realises that and then takes responsibility for their energy, rather than just cursing people willy-nilly and refusing to take responsibility. So I think if we look at it from that perspective, then we can see that witch is a positive word, but it's going to kind of get caught up in the religious mix at the moment. Pagan is just from the countryside, that's all it means, and heathen means worshipped on the heath, and it's not even worship,
I love the word
it's
heathen.
Connect with nature on the heath, which is exactly what I do on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I remember I had a friend, I used the word pagan, and she literally just was like, no. But it seems to be such a dark word, some people, they really believe. It's
from paysage, which is French for the countryside. So before the churches were built, we just used to go outside, raise that green vibration, be in a tree grove, and connect. So what's wrong with that? And all churches are built on Druid ground.
All churches?
All churches are built on Druid ground. So when you go into a church these days, they're facing east-west alignment, they're facing the sun, it's sun worship, but they're all built on sacred ground. So another, going back to our previous question, if you live in Deptford, how do you find the holy ground? We'll start with the church,
That's
maybe,
brilliant.
and then see that would be in alignment. You could even look further and say, where do the churches line up? And you'll see the ley line. I think the biggest problem is horoscopes.
Yeah.
Horoscopes define you into a category of 12, so you're a 12th of the population regardless of anything else, and they are absolutely ridiculous. I won't write them. I write daily energetics.
Yeah.
And the word horoscope comes from Horus, the rising sun on the eastern horizon. So it's not a bad word in itself, but the way the public media have done the Mystic Meg, Taurus, you're going to be unlucky with the number 4 today type nonsense, is what makes it very easy for people to ridicule. But astrology itself is the electromagnetic universe, the complex pattern of all the planets when you were born and how that imprints on you when you separate from your mother, because our cells in our body are full of water and they take that electromagnetic imprint. So there's 78,000 things, it's said, different between each chart. So astrology shows you your symphony and your magnificence and your total variety, rather than narrowing it down to you're just a Taurus or you're just a Gemini. And it's used from the highest to the lowest. We know that it's used in all public affairs. It's only the people that are in the middle that are told that it's silly and it's not worth it and everything. And it's done down on purpose because of its superpower, and it's been around forever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the oldest things. So it's the way that the electromagnetic pattern of the stars imprints on us and how we've come here to challenge and to bring the best out of ourselves according to our blueprint and our map, basically.
Yeah.
So when you look at the chart, it's your blueprint, and then when you look at what's coming up, it's your map.
Yeah, I think when I looked at my birth chart, it was almost quite it's an incredible experience, like looking at what it was saying about you in relation to where the planets are. It obviously gives so much more depth, and almost validates the parts of you that you might think like, God, not so keen on that, but then you really feel like you understand it.
Yeah, it makes you fully realise you're not just using one tool in your kit anymore.
Exactly.
Most people that just know their sun sign, they've got a hammer, fine, bang a nail in, but when it comes to polishing your toenails or buttering your bread, you're still trying to use a hammer. It's not going to work. So you're looking at your vibrational toolkit, and you're looking at how the energies are unfolding for you. It's quite complicated to describe any further than that, but just to say that everybody is unique. They created their chart. They reconnect with it, and then they can see how to bring the best and all those aspects out of themselves. And it's not to do with constellations, because people always once in a while go, oh, there's 13 and that means I'm a Capricorn, not an Aquarius or something. But the constellations are a marker behind, in front of which the planetary energy is going through, so it's just a convenient way for us to divide up the sky.
Yeah.
Just like if you look at a clock on the wall, you've got the numbers, fine. But if you added another number between 2 and 3, it wouldn't really change anything. It'd still be tea time.
Yeah. And do you have any advice for people who want to, take their first tentative steps into astrology? And I know it can be quite a daunting thing.
Yeah, first things first, I would say don't overdo it. I've got a video on each planet and a video on each zodiac sign on my YouTube channel for free. I've got a video on how to get your chart. And if you just work through each pair, so the sun and the sign, then the moon and the sign, one a week, then the Mercury and then another sign, then Venus and the sign. If you work through one per week, my videos are showing you where that planet exists inside of yourself, because it's not about what's outside. As above, so below. So Venus is our heartfelt values and our loves, what we love, who we love, how we love.
Yeah.
Rather than this rock that's kind of telling us when to go shopping, which is the way that it's portrayed in the media. So I think if you do that first, get your chart and then work each pairing.
Yeah.
Feel it in yourself, bring it out of yourself, and then see the zodiac as a year. It's not some crazy thing. Aries is April, Taurus is May, roughly. You're looking at spring fire, spring earth. Just walk a year around the zodiac and you'll see that it's actually a calendar first before anything else, and it will kind of reveal itself to you. That's a really good point. We've all got our own clock and our own timeline. So you can work generically with, say, the new moon, the full moon and the dark moon as far as timing is concerned, because my mum used to say it's like pushing treacle upstairs to do the wrong thing at the right the right thing at the wrong time. So basically, if you know the lunar cycles, then most people will work with the full moon and the new moon if you're a little bit more advanced. But in Wicca we work with the dark moon, which comes just before the full moon, and we release.
Yeah.
And then the new moon is purify. Then you begin to evoke. So when you're releasing, timing is useful. And the first thing to do really is to admit where you're holding any friction, anger and shame. Do the work on yourself first. You're not trying to get rid of that person or that situation. You're just taking responsibility for, where did I shame myself? Where wasn't I honourable? Where am I holding any anger towards this situation? And then with that awareness, yes, you can release, because as soon as you take the seed of awareness,
so
the
it's
rest
the awareness
doesn't
at
have
first,
to go forward. And then forgiveness. Forgive yourself, forgive others, just relax with that. And just say, I've got the seed of awareness now, I don't need to drag all the baggage forward. So we've got the lunar cycles, but you've also got your own solar cycle. So just before your birthday is an epic time to let go of what's not coming forwards. Yeah, people don't realise what a birthday is. We've got the symbol of the sun in astrology is a round with a dot in the middle. And when our sun returns to where it was in our chart when we were born, we make a round cake, light fire on top of it, and say many happy returns. It's your solar return.
That's brilliant.
But just before that, you've got the dark sun. If you want to imagine you're in a balloon and you've got a high cliff coming along and you need to get rid of some ballast before you can raise up to go around another level. That's the time to do it on a yearly level. So if the dark moon is a monthly, then the dark sun just before your birthday is a yearly chance to really look back and see any retention that you've got, and then look back with gratitude because whatever you're grateful for at that point, you're calling in more as you step over the threshold.
And that's become a big part of well, both mine and Christobal's life.
Yeah.
Actually. We keep a gratitude diary.
Yes.
And the difference it's made, it's been absolutely incredible.
Yeah. They can measure the human heart outside of the body, and gratitude is something like 540 hertz exiting your body.
Really?
It's electrical frequency, and it goes way outside of your body. So 540.
You can measure it.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, HeartMath have done some amazing
Wow.
studies on the electromagnetic field between people, and even measured stuff from the ionosphere as well. This is really very key to where we're at now, because people don't even know what masculine and feminine is. But if we go into alchemy, then basically masculine is upward, outward directed dynamic fire. And feminine is inward receptive, attractive magnetic water. And we all have both of those, and every atom in our universe is balanced in the electro, masculine, and the magnetic, feminine. And yet we're all living in a world where we're told to act in the masculine, go out, do, try, strive, reach.
Yeah.
So many women have become men, and then it's a real imbalance on that level. So it's not about wearing a flowery dress if you're a woman, or some of the things that you think about male and female. It's more about balancing that desire to push outwards, to try and to do.
Yeah.
Or realise that you're a huge magnet, because like we're saying about the 540 hertz of gratitude, whatever goes out modulates back on that frequency.
Yes.
So can you be a massive receptor? Can you be a magnet? Can you attract to you effortlessly, rather than be the best rat in the race?
And obviously you have to put out.
Mm-hmm.
You have to put out before that comes back to you.
Exactly. So you have to kind of the age of Aquarius with the zigzags, which is electromagnetic quantum frequency at the moment, is saying whatever you transmit, you will receive. Be responsible for your transmission.
Yeah.
And once you do that, then it's about getting the heart and the head together, because the head wants to kind of go, I must try, I must send lots of emails, I must make those phone calls. And the heart's just like, I deserve to receive effortlessly. So those are the real masculine and feminines that we can work with. And we all know whether we're a bit of a mentalist at times, or whether we're trying too hard, or, so it's nothing to do with gender, it's nothing to do with sexuality as such. It's more that balance of the active and not passive, but the receptive.
Yeah.
And that's the key. The feminine has been dumbed down, turned into a passive force to make everybody reject it. But the return of the feminine would be to realise that we're receivers as well as transmitters. And the power of that. Well, if you're going to do something generic, then you've got the 3 phases. So you've got new, which is a good time for new intentions, usually, unless something else big is going on cosmically. So you've got a new moon for 2 weeks that starts a double new energy, because it's when the sun and the moon are in the same sign. And then the full moon is gratitude, because we've got the sun's light reflected off the moon. So it's a time, a couple of days just to reflect and to be grateful, do your gratitude ceremony as well. And then the dark moon is a time to release just before the new moon. That's a generic one, but the next level would be to say, have a look at the element of the sign that it's in. And most charts will have red, green, yellow and blue, so you don't have to be an astrologer to figure it out. Red is fire, yellow is water, green is earth and blue. Yellow is air, green is earth and blue is water. So we've just had a Scorpio new moon, so you're looking at water, so then you can do your ritual with water. If it's dark moon Scorpio, then you can banish with water. If it's new moon Scorpio, you can purify and invoke with water and set intentions. I was at holding a group the other day, and I had them do something similar to Dr. Emoto Mizura's work, where we put intention into the water. Are you aware of his work, where he take words towards water on beakers and then froze the water and photographed the crystals?
It's when the actual water particles
Yeah.
move, don't they?
Well, he photographed the crystals. That might be another one where they're doing particles moving. But he just took a photo, so love, and then took a photo of the crystal.
Yes.
Yeah, that one.
That's incredible.
So we did an intention setting ceremony, and everybody took a little blue bottle of water away that they'd been guided through an intention setting ritual with. And then they were able to kind of use that on their favourite house plant, or wash their hair with it, or do something with that water. So that's a kind of new moon idea. And then the full moon, it's normally best just to be still.
Yeah.
Go outside if you can.
Yeah.
But just be still and reflect. It's not really a time to kind of try too hard.
Yeah.
So that's the element. And then the third level, I've got a personal lunar planner course, and if you can find where that fits in your chart. Got 12 sections in our chart, so it might be in section 1 for you, in section 6 for you, in section 3 for me.
Yeah.
So then you've got, okay, let's say it's a new moon in Scorpio. You've got, I set new intentions using water for this part of my life. 1, 2, 3. And then you're into a real personal ritual.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
The one we love to have a dance at the new moon to get
Yeah.
the energy going. Oh, it's brilliant.
It's always good to dance. Well, Samhain is the big one. It's New Year in the pagan tradition because you are conceived into the dark before you're born into the light. And we come into the light at the winter solstice when the sun is reborn. So the sun is born at Christmas, that's the Christianity side, but the sun is reborn at the winter solstice and we start to go into the lighter days. So we're conceived into the dark in Scorpio, and Samhain is 15 degrees Scorpio, traditionally. So we celebrate it currently on sort of the 31st of October, but for me it's a phase that goes all the way through to the 8th of November. It incorporates Bonfire Night and Remembrance Day as well. The whole thing is basically Samhain, and you've got the 3-day festival of Diwali as well that the Hindus took over, were given from the Celtic. Not many people know that, but the Hindu Diwali comes from the Celtic Samhain. So you have this wonderful tradition of going into the dark to come out into the light.
Yeah.
And it's this time the sun is at the, and the earth alignment is at the end of the Milky Way, where it was said that souls leave. So the beginning of the Milky Way is between Taurus and Gemini and the Orion Nebula, and that was said where souls come in. And to this day the Vatican have got all the Orion iconography in the Vatican. It's covered with Orion symbolism. So the souls come in at that point, down the Milky Way, which is named after the cow goddess of Taurus, the Celtic cow goddess. That's why Taurus is a cow as well as a bull. Down the Milky Way, and it goes out between Scorpio and Sagittarius, and that's where that 13th sign is, Ophiuchus, the serpent handler.
Yeah.
I know you've got a serpent in your video that's
Yes.
being handled. The serpent is also the Milky Way, but the Celts used to say that this was when the veils were thin between the worlds as souls leave. So the whole thing is to honour people that have passed that year, and then to honour the ancestors going kind of further back in your timeline.
Yeah.
And that's the death aspect. It's not horror. It's the kind of honouring those that have been before us. And they also used to have the cattle cull because they couldn't afford to keep herds open, fed over the winter. So there was that kind of bury the food under the ground, light fires on it, and be grateful. So it was a time of gratitude, going into our darkest selves because the sun's going through the darkest month, honouring the ancestors, lighting a candle, keeping that spark alive. And yeah, it's the new year, so it's a really personal thing for everyone. And I find it's still fun, some of the elements, to see the kids running around. Like I say, my mum loved Halloween, so we were always dressing up and running around. She ran the brownie pack and everything. The owl itself is the bird that sees in the darkest part of the year, so brown owl was the wise one in that sense. So it's still fun to see all the kids running about. But the horror and the sweets and the nonsense and the irrelevant fancy dress is just taking it too far. But it was the one that didn't get Christianised. Because they can call it All Souls Day the next day, but nobody other than that particular tranche of people ever goes there. You know, that's not what people get excited about. So the collective is really profound at that time of year. The light is amazing. You get purpley skies and orange leaves, and it's just a generally exciting time of year anyway. But if you add fireworks is the masculine and feminine. It's an orgasm, basically. It's the masculine firework orgasming and penetrating the midnight sky. So that's actually, Scorpio's known as the regenerative organs and the conception. So like I say, we're kind of conceived at that time as well into the darkness. So even those fireworks going up in the sky are representative of the fire and water, the masculine and the feminine. There's so much to love. I could go on all night.
Oh, there is so much. I like what you said about going into the darkness, because as I mentioned before, that's what we're trying to do with this shoot. Instead of contacting the ancestors, it's trying to get in touch with that neglected shadow aspect.
Yeah. facing the demons inside.
Exactly, and that's the Pandora'S box of just opening
Yes.
opening that chest and seeing what's in there, or the jar, pouring spirit through the jar.
Yeah, Scorpio's that dark subconscious waters, what
Yeah.
lies within, and we
I've
journey
had
inwards.
lots of trouble with Scorpios. I'm a Taurus.
Uh-huh.
I know it's
You're opposite.
my opposite, but yeah, particularly with music and business. My I've had the biggest issues with Scorpios. Had lots of problems there. It's a funny one. I'm sure I'll get over it one day.
It's because you're probably seeing part of yourself. You're 25% Scorpio as a Taurian. You can't be opposite. You have to be like a yin yang. You have to be opposite.
Yeah.
So you might be seeing something. There might be the ones that can really press your buttons because
Oh my
there's
gosh,
that bit
yeah.
of you inside of you.
Really,
speaking.
really, like insanely so.
Yeah, I love Imbolc. Imbolc is the quickening. That's what it was called. So first and foremost, it was when the spark of life was seen to return to the earth.
Mm.
So the snowdrops come through the ground. The ice begins to melt. And when the fox knew not to cross the ice, none of the other animals would.
Yeah.
So basically, we have the fox as a big symbol for Aquarius. And then Imbolc was ewe's milk. It was when the ewes start lactating.
Yes.
To actually, so that's life is coming back, food is coming back. We've gone from the winter solstice where we have the hearth fire and all of our food and all of our celebrations, and then we have the hardest month, which is Capricorn, which is just persevering through the winter. And then we have that first frisson of Imbolc. And the patron goddess is Brigid, and she's said to be tall and slim and with red hair. And the Christians have taken that and turned it into Candlemas and a single white candle with the red flames. So we have this white and orange, or white and red, single flame, single spark, electricity, whatever you like, but that's all wrapped around the essence of Aquarius itself. And it's just, it's the most forgotten one because I think everything else does have a Christian or a current festival.
Yeah.
Most people will just skip past the beginning of February. But it is important, and it's just a celebration. We're nearly there.
Well, I think with the idea of the single white flame, I think that somewhere, maybe you did mention it in your video, but it must have subconsciously infiltrated me because it was the whole point of there's been a spark that is raising this neglected shadow into life. So it was in there somewhere in the head.
I think it's probably in the Imbolc video.
Yeah, it must have been.
But it's beautiful, yeah. So even if you just sit and light a single candle that night, it's purity, it's the inner child, and it's the celebration of the frisson of life itself.
Yeah.
So we go into the dark with Samhain, dying to be reborn again at Imbolc. It's birth, it's purity, and the goddess Brigid was healing and poetry, and it's just nurture that inner child, listen to it.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, and lots of joy. Just do things that are joyful, and maybe stop taking everything so seriously, because when we go into the dark, it can get a bit addictive.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
And then some people just live in the shadows forever, looking for more drama and more things to sort out. But at some point, we can take a breather.
I think that was me, and actually, I did notice a marked turning point really in my just general feeling of well-being when I started trying to engage consciously with the idea of an inner child.
Yeah.
And thinking about what I enjoyed when I was younger, what sort of got me ticking. And I think it's a really powerful thing.
Oh, if you had a happy childhood and you can go back to when you were 6, what you were doing there is possibly should be top of your CV.
Yeah. Imagine that, having a
Energetic
CV now,
CV.
just listing the things you did as a
Riding my
child.
bike really quickly, climbing trees. Yeah, no harm in putting that stuff back in there though. We just get more and more pushed into a narrower scope. So I think, it's Aquarius is about joy, breaking the rules and creating a new and visionary future, not repeating what's been done before. It's good to trace backwards, because if you're not sure that you've got influence of astrology or that you know really what you're thinking about, then to go back over your life and see how you felt is a really good way to do it. So we've had 2.5 years of quite tough stars. The summer was particularly tough this year because we came to the end of a 2.5 year stretch of Saturn in Scorpio. And Saturn is your teacher, your backbone and your discipline.
Yeah.
Your core strength, you teaching you the tough lessons, and Scorpio is structuring the subconscious in this case. So we've had to have everything come out. So for 2.5 years we've had Saturn dragging everything out in Scorpio. And then over the summer we had the final summing up, like a court case, like the jury coming out and just doing their final, the final summing up. So just as people were starting to relax, we've had this kind of quite epic summer. So if you go back to the 4th of May, there was a big full moon in Scorpio. Then we had this Scorpionic Saturn end couple of months, just wrapping all of that up. A couple of Mercury retrogrades, and when Mercury goes retrograde, we're switching hemispheres of the brain. It's not about rational and logic anymore, it's about seeing between the spaces, leaving a bit of space, a loose diary, and seeing what different things come up. Whatever's blocked or confused over there can throw up something new over here, but people that are too controlling can find that very difficult because their plans aren't going.
Yeah.
All right. And then we had Venus retrograde over the summer as well, and that was a beautiful one because it was saying before we push forward, because there's no point, Saturn has to finish in Scorpio, the retrogrades are here, before we start to push forward, which we can do from September onwards, reconnect with your heart spark of what you're doing rather than just that plan that you had 5 years ago that you're still chasing.
Yeah.
Is it still what you want? Where's the passion? Where's the love? Where's the value in it? And because we were slowed down all over the summer, when we stepped forward in September, we've reconnected with the real
I think that's so
rocket
applicable.
fuel of our projects now, so we're going to go far.
Yeah, that's really applicable. Well, you've really traced the journey of my summer.
Yeah.
Particularly with the Scorpio thing, actually, which is...
But when we look at that masculine and feminine, if you are in that masculine rat race and you're just trying to push forward, all you're going to see is blocks and frustration.
Yeah.
But if you're in the feminine, saying this happens for a reason, and you've got you're tuning into, say, I do weekly videos on what's going on this week, and then you're like, oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
This wouldn't be worth pushing forward to until next week, so my time is better spent doing X, Y, and Z.
It was quite funny, actually, because I used it as a validation to not do something for Christabel. There was something I should have done, and I was like, wait a minute, contract should not be signed at this time. I'm not gonna sort that out. I'm not gonna get them to sign that. Just leave it.
Yeah.
So maybe it's lazy, but it fitted in.
No, if you're called to do it, you know, we don't have to be these super producive super rats anymore.
No, exactly.
Just don't. You're all right, actually, if you stayed in bed all day. If you could maintain that gratitude frequency, imagine how much healing you'd be doing without even getting out of your pyjamas.
Yeah.
This is the receptive feminine we need to start to embrace. It's not all about, I should have done this and I need to do that.
I agree.
But the programming is just decades, eons long, isn't it?
It is. I think when you start engaging with this stuff, it is a process, and there's a lot of trial and error. You work out certain practices that do work for you. And I think gratitude combined with moon rituals, and even a to-do list, when you add gratitude to a to-do list, like thanking in advance for, completing something, even the tiniest thing, it just seems to happen.
Yeah. Since the 18th of September, we have Saturn gone into Sagittarius. This is a big deal because where we've dragged everything out of our subconscious for 2.5 years, we've now cleared the way. We've got broad horizons. Venus connecting us with our heartfelt desires in the summer means that wherever we're aiming our arrow of Sagittarius, it's going to be on the mark rather than just shooting around at some goal that we had back in the past. So hopefully we've got a broad horizon, we've got a goal. We're not in a rush to get there by any stretch because it's the next 2.5 years that we're talking about. But there's a sense of, because we've come out of dark Scorpio water and into expansive Sagittarius fire. So it says, give me the broad horizon, give me a journey, give me an adventure. I'll document it, I'll learn a lot along the way because we're talking about expansion here. So it's going to be travel and education and then eventually publishing, film, that kind of thing, to get that message out there once you've walked the journey. So the energy is really magnificent. So if anybody wants to make the most of this year, you're beginning a 2.5-year journey, an adventure, and to make sure that it's from a point of passion.
That's brilliant.
And then you can have some real fun. We've got a clear road ahead with that one. Every year we'll have Mercury retrogrades. This year it's coming up in Earth. So last year it was all the air signs that got a shake up. But we are all the signs.
Yeah.
Just like a clock cannot have a number 3.
Yeah.
It has to have all the numbers. We're all the signs. But this year it's going to be Mercury retrograde in Earth. So if you do get your chart and you see where the Earth signs are, or if you know that you've got some Earth in your chart, then that would be the one to look at. So we're going to go from Capricorn to Taurus to Virgo. But that's only 3 weeks out of, 3 times a year, 3 weeks. So it's
Yeah.
just something that we need to pace ourselves with and be aware of. Venus isn't going to have a retrograde, she's going clear, working with the Sun all year. So the Venus and the Sun in the similar signs all year, that's going to have a coherence. What I want to do and what I'm doing and what I love should be able to kind of plot a course around the zodiac. And Mars is going to have a bit of a retrograde this year coming, so we'll be going back to meet that rocket fuel again and to have a look at what's really firing us up. So that's coming up too, but they're all quite far in the future, and what I tend to do is just look at the next few months, because every thought, word and action that we have changes what's going. The world is changing around us as we're clearing out our collective subconscious. The actual world is changing, so the manifestation of these stars can be on a low level, medium level, high level, and if we confuse ourselves, like you were asking me what's the best thing to learn astrology, is to not take on too much at one time. So I don't tend to look for the whole year ahead and kind of go, right, this is August and that's September.
Yeah, of course.
Really work with one thing at a time. And I think if you want to focus in on anything right now, Saturn in Sagittarius, where are you going on your adventure?
Yeah.
Shoot that arrow and enjoy the journey. My website is www.astrozo.com. So
What's that name? Astrozo.
ASTROZO. I didn't get that name for my YouTube channel, so it's Zoe Astro. But every week I make a video, so you can subscribe and you get those for free. And I've got all the videos on how to get your charts, all the planets, all the zodiac signs, and the witch's zodiac, which is one video about the zodiac and the pagan festival. So there's one on Samhain, there's one on Imbolc, there's 8 there. So if you want to dive into how those two things work together. And I post up on Facebook all the time, so you can connect to my Facebook through my webpage. I tweet, and I've got online courses and a Facebook membership group. So if you're getting the videos and you want to think, well, how can I work with this with my energy? We've got a worldwide community growing now. There's America, there's Wales, there's all over the place. People are posting their chart up, and then I'm starting a conversation on the energies for the week. But somebody else might start a conversation on a tarot card or something that's happened. And it's an opportunity for me to be able to be present online, but without a multiverse of emails coming in from different directions.
That's a great idea.
And I created that for less than the cost of a reading, so you can actually have yearly access to what's going on now for less than the cost of an actual one-to-one reading.
Wow, that's brilliant.
And then Skype. I love Skype.
Yeah.
Global clients, it's just brilliant. Connect with people all over the world.
Yeah.
And so don't let it stop you if you're not in the UK, because my online courses and my Skype readings are available to everyone.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. It's been
Thank
brilliant
you.
talking.
Thank you. That's been wonderful.